Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Ryan and Dave Save the World. This week we've got our guests Jake Jenkins and Landy and DiValentine, some of our old pals from our band, the Pocketbook Revolution. We've got a 15-year reunion show coming up, and we've been rehearsing for the last few months. So we decided to get these guys on the podcast and share how everything began and how this whole thing got rolling. Hope you'd enjoy it as much as we do. Bye. What's up? All right. Where are we right now?
Welcome to Push Studios.
Push Studios?
Yeah.
Push, P-U-S-H.
You got it. Push.
Well, this is it.
Push Sound Studios.
This is Landy's place, and dude, it's awesome. We've been doing Pocketbook Revolution rehearsals here. This is our second one we've had. It's been fun. It's weird. It's weird coming back into all this, you know? Speaking of which, okay, so I guess a little background. The four of us started a band in 2003-ish, like about the year I graduated high school, I think.
July 15th, 2003.
So we started a band together back then here in Merrill, and we had a good run. I think we made it as the four of us for a couple of years, huh?
For a year and a half?
Year and a half?
That was it? We did a lot that year and a half.
Seems like a long time.
We did so much.
I don't think that sounds like I thought like 2 or 3, maybe.
Dude,
Yeah. I mean,
in 3
minimum.
weeks, we played our first show with 6 songs. Well, I mean,
That's true.
yeah. Songs is a relative term.
So, okay, we need a little background. So, to give you a visual, I'm living in Florida, and I moved back home. I'd get a hold of Ryan, and I'm like, dude, let's write some songs, start a band. Okay, we're in his garage. It's summertime, writing songs. Landy, short for Orlando, was on tour with his band, Wormwood.
You got it.
And this was before everybody had cell phones. And so somehow you and I made a decision or contact, and that like, do you want to move to Wisconsin and start a band?
Yeah,
How did that go?
You came and saw Wormwood play.
Yep.
Then you found out that Wormwood was on like the verge of getting signed to like I can't even think, Universal through John Elefante from Kansas, which is just a ridiculous statement. But anyways, because nobody do they even have labels anymore? I mean, like, so you found that out, and then you found out that I was fighting with my band all the time, and you saw we played at some church that was ridiculous that had a college that you attended.
Yes.
And you saw me play, and we played a couple times together, and you said...
We played a lot together.
Yeah, we did play a lot together. Anyway, so then you said, dude, you should quit your band and move up to Wisconsin and join it. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, no, I do hate my band. I hate working with them. I'm like, and I do hate Florida at this time, so why not?
So the plan was you finish the tour.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a one-way ticket back to Florida to meet you.
Yeah.
And you were going to pick me up in the airport, and then like the next day or two, we were going to drive your truck back to Wisconsin.
That's the plan.
That was the plan. So
I tell my dad and my mom, and I just say, hey, I'm going to move to Wisconsin. And my parents say, no, you're not. You don't even know where Wisconsin was, which is true. I did not know where Wisconsin was, and I was 21 at the time. So anyway, so they thought I was joking, and I told them, and then like the day before Dave's going to fly down to Fort Myers, my parents were like, you're really going to move to Wisconsin? I was like, yeah, I'm going to move to Wisconsin. It's going to be great.
dude, that was amazing. So then you had like this like longer black hair.
Yeah, like shoulder length.
Yeah, like shoulder length, and
You're gorgeous.
You were
You were
gorgeous.
so pretty.
Gorgeous Italian Cuban man.
I found pictures too, by the way.
I think the
nice.
first time I met you, you had this ruffly, like blousey shirt. And it was just.
It was like a 1970s.
I just pictured. I was working at the coffee house and I was behind the counter, and Dave walks in and you got him, and I just like, whoa, is it Antonio Banderas?
You already knew you knew I was coming.
I didn't think it was like I don't know. I mean, honestly, like you said, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have social media. Like the last time I probably talked to Dave was like a week prior.
Yeah.
And like Dave walks in, he's got this guy with him. Like, holy shit, you did it. And, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You guys literally drove. I mean,
24 hours straight.
Sure, yeah.
Dave did only 2 hours worth of driving, which was okay.
just to
'Cause I was
just
too
to
amped. I was
coordinate
ready to
that
go.
effort of like two kids. How old were you guys? You weren't even 20.
I was 21.
Yeah, I was probably 19.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
coordinate that effort to one guy flies to Florida, not really knowing if the other guy is even really going to be there or not.
Oh,
And
totally
it got
blind.
postponed too because you canceled your flight because I thought you did.
No.
Or you never
I-
bought your ticket or something because I came back from tour and was supposed to leave the next day, but it ended up being like a week or two later.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can
Anyway.
remember that part.
But
you're probably right. I don't remember.
because we were like, oh, this is kind of, it was dicey, man.
Yeah, super.
But-
well, so all right. I'm
And
like,
then
I'm
after
doing
24
this.
hours of me playing Radiohead and Moss Mouse, and Dave's regretting his decision already.
Dude, I like never heard that music before, and I was like had a headache the entire 24 hours.
Oh, I remember.
because it was so loud.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, could you just turn it down a little? It was like blaring loud, like ear piercing, bleeding
Yeah,
loud
so-
for 24 hours. I was like, oh my god, that's
was
crazy.
great.
Dude. So my connecting flight was in Detroit, and I called you from a payphone. I called you your home phone from a payphone at Detroit
Listeners
Airport.
aren't even going to know what that is.
And I'm like, dude, I'm in Detroit. I bought a one-way ticket. Like, you gonna come pick me? I was like, yeah, dude, me and my brother are gonna come pick you up. It's gonna be awesome. Like, okay. So I get to the Fort Myers airport, and I'm like walking, and no cell phones. I don't know where you are. You know, I'm just like, I'm going to baggage claim, which I didn't need to, but that's where you exited that airport down by
Right,
baggage.
right,
That's
right.
most airports. But anyway, and I'm at the top of the escalator. I'll never forget it. And here's Landy in a wheelchair with his brother standing behind him, pushing in a wheelchair, like doing wheelies. I don't know. They were like messing around. And I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. Yeah, there they are. So we get back to your house. You have nothing packed. Nothing's ready to go.
Right.
And I was like, so, like, do you want to chill for a while? Like, what do you want to do? You want to hang? And I think we went to a show or we went to a coffee shop that night or something. We got
Yeah.
back, and we woke up the next day and we're just like, let's go. Pack
Yeah.
up the truck, and we left.
And it was like the day before your birthday
Yes.
because it was July 14th and then
July 17th is my birthday.
Oh, my bad.
And
So
that
it was
was when we had our first band practice.
so July 15th you show up. July 16th we start driving, and then July 17th
Yep.
we arrive at like 10 in the morning.
Yes.
And we just drove 24 hours
Yeah,
straight.
that's exactly what happened.
And I'd slept for 2 hours.
Yes.
what did you think you were in for?
What
I mean, what did you think you were coming here to Wisconsin for?
Well, I get into these like I was, you know, I would say I'm always been like religious. So I knew that I was in a band that was going to get signed as a Christian band to Universal, and we didn't act like Christians, and who knows what a Christian's supposed to act like at this point anyways, but all I know is that we were getting into all these fights, and so I just said the next band that I get into, like, if it's like whatever we decide on at the beginning, that's what I'm going to go with, and if we're going to decide we're a Christian band, that's what I'm going to go with. So, like, Dave made it sound like I was coming up to join like a Christian hardcore band. So
It was.
and so
Greatest hustle of all time.
Greatest-
Just kidding.
got me good.
Legendary.
No, so I came up with that in mind, and so like I just figured, like, I don't really care. I don't care if the music sucks, but I do care if, like, as long as, like, we're backing each other up, like, morally and supporting each other, like, spiritually, I'm down. So that's what, and I had no idea who was in the band at this point. So I had no idea what I was in for. But that's where it kind of, like, that's kind of where I was. I just didn't want to be in a hypocrite band kind of thing. But this was my mindset at 21.
Sure.
So
you get here. It's July 17th. We have we're like, we couldn't sleep. We actually tried to like take a nap.
Yeah.
Couldn't. So we're like, dude, let's go to Ryan's.
Yeah.
We went to Ryan's, and I think, Jake, were you in the band at that point yet or not?
Not yet.
No, you haven't. We haven't drove to his house yet.
The first thing that I remember is, I'm not sure if you called first or you just showed up, but I lived like maybe a block and a half from Ryan's house, and Dave, I remember you showed up with Landy, and he's wearing like this tight shirt with like this stallion on it, and he has this long flowing hair.
It's that Italian stallion.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And I just remember, like, do you want to go jam? Like, sure. I didn't know that you had, like, conned Landy into coming up here to join this band.
Not
it
a
didn't
con.
exist
It's a
yet.
soft con.
So no, and it wasn't just like we're going to your house. We drove to your house, and he's like, stay in the car. Dave's just like, stay in the car, and then Dave goes inside, and then like I don't know, did he tell you then? He didn't tell you then? Wasn't he like,
I don't remember really how that
I was
rolled
pretty
out.
sure what I heard later,
Yeah.
which I didn't know for years, even till like after the band was done, was that we drove to Jake's house, and Dave walks into Jake's house and says, hey, I just had a bass player move up here from Florida. Do you want to play drums for this band? And you felt so obligated because you couldn't imagine that Dave like hustled some kid, some moron, up to Wisconsin from Florida, and you're gonna have to play drums now because there is no other option.
I love hearing different.
This is how it was.
So everybody's a
remember it.
little more like, I got fucked this way or that way, like, depending on how you look at it. So what happened was I was actually communicating with both of these guys the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was hinging on if you were coming up here or not. So really, you were the piece that glued it all together.
All right.
But the one thing, because Ryan and he was down.
And you guys had already practiced. You guys learned like 3 or 4 songs.
Ryan and I had like 2 songs. And then
Worth It All and Patiently Wait, as far as
Yep.
I know. And Kidney to Kidney, I thought was already done.
possibly
It might have been in there somewhere.
So,
But Jake at the time played in a 3-piece hardcore band.
Yeah.
That was actually really, really
with
good.
Chris Sherwood,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It was Before and Ever After was the name.
Before- yeah.
Yep.
And so when I talked to you, it was like, shoot, how am I going to get Jake to do this? Because he's in a really good band and they're doing really awesome. And it just kind of happened. I think you just did me a favor. Maybe you can fill it in.
I don't really remember how that worked because I don't remember how that hardcore band ended. I just remembered that I started playing with you guys and I was like, well, I'm just going to do this now. This is a good band. And I think the other one was just winding down.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happened, but I was happy to start something new.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So so that was kind of the like how it all forms. Then we start rehearsing and we write songs. And I think we had 5 songs before once we set up our first show.
We had 6 songs.
That could be.
Okay.
I thought we had 6
Who knows?
for some reason. I thought.
And we didn't have a band name, but we had a show at the coffee shop you worked at.
But we had to come up with a band name before the first show.
Of course. So in the local movies video rental store, this is how long ago it was, on the sign, it said, "So long, Melissa." Because Melissa, who worked there, must have been like leaving or going to college or however it worked or moving. And it was like, dude, So Long Melissa, that's the band name. And it was kind of, I was pushing it, and it was like, that's way too emo, no way.
I was pushing it as well. I was in support of that.
But you were the most emo of all of us, was Ryan.
And so it was, I think, it was like a working title, sort of. Like, so we went with So Long Melissa, knowing that it actually wasn't going to be our actual name until we came up with something better, because we had to put something on the flyer.
Right. Do you remember how we came up with the band name?
Huh?
Do you remember how we came up with the band name?
Yeah. So we said So Long Melissa, and it's on the bill of our first show as So Long Melissa.
I didn't even know that.
Yes. And we didn't want that name in the end, so it was like, all right, we're going to just make up a story that So Long Melissa couldn't make it.
And we were going to show up in place of So Long Melissa, who couldn't make it.
That's hysterical.
Nobody knows our band name. Nobody knows who we were, and that's how we were going to hit the scene.
That's
But the truth was, though, that everybody knew who we were, and
Yeah,
because
individually.
It's like the smallest town ever.
Individually, but I don't think anybody knew we had a band except for a few people.
exactly that's where it's hard to put it into perspective because it really was like probably 12 to 15 people that we're talking about here. It wasn't like a whole like scene, but like people knew us because you and Jake was in a hardcore band and you were in a band and then we have this import, this sexual chocolate, And so it was intriguing, and that first show that we played was, I mean, there must have been like 80 people there.
We packed it out. It was packed.
Which for a room the size of not very big, at the time was like, whoa, there's seriously a lot of people. There was standing room only. Nobody could sit down,
The stage was on both sides of the front door.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah.
Like when you walked in between like the band.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was crazy.
So we didn't want to keep the name, but it was the night before the show, as I recall it. Maybe it's different, but I think it was the night before the show. And we're like, okay, we rehearsed, we're ready to go. We don't actually have a name yet. Like, we cannot leave Ryan's house until we have a band name. So we laid in the grass in the backyard.
Yeah.
Looking in this.
I think technically the front yard, because he lived on an alleyway. I don't know. Your garage was on that side, so I would assume
Backyard.
that's- Whatever. So
We're in the yard. And then I don't know how the actual name came about.
So we're sitting there, and we just said, all right, two of us are going to shout out one word, and we're going to put it together, and whatever comes out, that's what we're going to call it, And so Jake and I go 1, 2, 3, and Jake yells Pocketbook, and I yelled Revolution, and I, as soon as I said it, I go, damn it. I shouldn't have said that. And then we were the Pocketbook Revolution after that. So that was it.
And that was it. So we were like, okay, done. Let's go home because it was like late.
Yeah, and then that was it. And at first we were like, this is a horrible idea, but Ryan loved it because the initials were PBR.
I was pissed about it. I really liked So Long Melissa.
Yeah, I was not down with So Long Melissa.
Of course not.
We'd still be debating about a band name now.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we could have had an entire album done, but if we hadn't have done that, we would have. But
I think that if we had our way, if there's any way possible to not name a band and still be a band and put out records and do shows, I think we would have chose to just not even have a name.
that would have been great.
Probably.
Like, how do you, but there's no way. You can't be no name. You can't, I guess.
We had tossed around so many crazy ideas. I think what made things so interesting was you two guys, because Dave and I had this kind of plan that, all right, like, what's cool right now? Like, Finch is cool. Like, this post-hardcore emo screamo thing was like right there, like on the cusp. And I was like, yep, I'm going down this rabbit hole. And we were all about it. And Jake had like credibility on the line because you came from like the hardcore, like at the time you were in the hardcore scene, which was not cool to be in an emo band.
No,
like
it was very
but
uncool.
all the hardcore kids were like, it was like dangling a carrot in front of their nose because it was like, ooh, look, like Under Oath's doing it. Ooh, look, like Further Seems Forever's doing it. Like all these bands are like, so you brought some like, nope, not going there to our band. Like you were like, not doing that. Nope, I'm not doing that. This beat. Like,
How old were you at this time?
I would have been 15 or 16.
You're so.
that's even crazier.
You're like so gentle now, but you were so angsty back then.
Yeah, you were angry as
I was
fuck.
very angry all the time.
We did, so just
It was
real quick, touch on it, because your brother was actually on the show.
Yes.
John Jenkins.
Yep.
At Veritats.
Yes.
And so we talked a little bit about how John was like 8 and how I met you when I was playing drums in the church sanctuary, and you came up, you were like 12 then.
Yeah. Yep.
And played the drums. And anyway, so this is Jake, everyone. From that story.
Church drummer.
And well, you weren't a church drummer, but we met at the church on that drum set, and and you were phenomenal from that point.
and I knew I was like
bit of a prodigy, like
yeah. And so I was like, any band I'm in, Jake's in it. I don't care. I don't want
Jake
any
didn't-
other
Jake
drummer
didn't
except
know.
Jake. Yeah, Jake, you didn't know it at the time, but
I was just excited to play. I mean, I didn't think that I was amazing. I was glad to be in a band. I wanted to be in a band really badly, and like just meeting you and being able to get involved in playing live music and writing was just, I was so excited about it.
that's cool. Your double kick was like phenomenal.
It's not so good now, but
At
it
what
was really good
point?
then.
I could imagine that takes a lot to keep up. Remember when I had that 85 Toyota Camry, and I'd
Yes.
always I had to give you rides ever, obviously,
I
because you couldn't drive, and I would always do the e-brake and like slide into snowbanks and get stuck, and like I made you push me out, and you would get so mad at me. I would stick it in the snowbank, and you'd be like, I remember the first when you had enough, you were like, Dave, I'm so sick and tired, and why do you do this shit? You like fling the door, and you were like yelling. That was the first rant.
The first.
That was the
beginning
first
of the rant.
of many rants that I ever received and was a part of or experienced coming from you. And I appreciated it so much because it was such a jerk move, because you're right.
So wait a second. So when you moved up here, when I moved up here, before I moved up here,
Yep.
what was, so you were this really young up and coming drummer. Dave is what? What is Dave in this situation in your eyes?
Dave is a musician that moved away and had been, you know, out of the local scene in bands for a bit, but you know, we'd been in a few bands together, so I mean, it was a longer term collaborator.
Are you talking about Wounded? Was that one of them?
Okay, so
Spectre?
Spectrum
Spectrum.
was
Yeah,
the
Spectrum.
was the very first.
And then
Yeah.
you guys knew Ryan from the scene, who was in punk bands and emo bands, or
punk bands, yeah.
punk bands. Okay.
Well,
if you want to call it that.
you were like rock. You were just rock. I wouldn't say punk. Steve played punk beats for every beat. Steve's
so-
back.
Steve's back.
So
Well, at the time, I think the question you're asking is like, who was Dave to Jake when they first
well,
met?
and who, like, in Merrill, like when I moved up here, like I knew Dave down in Florida, and then Dave was attending churches, and so he was like the church guy, but he was cool because he played guitar, and he was like freaking, like he had like he was in Kettner or something like that. He was in Kettner rig, and it was like wasn't it a half stack?
Yeah.
And so you're the guy with the half stack at the house, and so I was like, oh, this guy's like for real, man, you know. And so then, but so I knew him like in that like church scene, and I knew that me and him didn't quite belong there. And then when I moved up here, like I caught wind that basically Dave was the player. He was like a player, and he had his type, and it was all blonde hair and blue eyes, like all day long.
Oh, girls. We're going girls.
Yeah, that's what
Dude, I'm not a player.
yeah,
Maybe
you just crush a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, so when I came up here, but what I want to know is, what was Dave and what were you two in like the scenes? Like, were you guys like the go-to guitar guys, or like you were the guitar guy and you were the emo?
Well, no,
Were you
because
the crying singer?
there wasn't really a scene though at all, because I mean, for our age group and like our demographic, like I really think that the band I was in and Spectrum were probably the first bands to ever start out of Merrill anyways to start like playing shows anywhere. So before us, not to sound, I mean, I'm talking Merrill, so we're literally talking like 20 kids maybe. But for then it was, so we kind of were just feeling everything out, and that's how it went down was, Dave, anybody who was in Dave's band was somebody because we were the only ones, and anybody who was in my band was somebody because we were the only ones doing it. And then we just got really lucky with that, with Rockwater and Wausau when it was still on Scott Street, because they were bringing in touring bands from all over the place, and our two bands got the opportunity to open for national touring acts through Rockwater. And then it was like, it was like totally eye-opening to see this perspective of the bands who've been out there touring, you know, and it opened up our eyes to like, whoa, like there's way more going on than just this little town. Like we could do this.
That's a great point. I've never broke it down like that.
So Yeah, so what happened was when our respective bands split, Dave moved away, but when we came back to start another band, it was like Jake was a part of Dave's band, and he had gone into other bands and kept credibility, and I was playing with other bands. So there was, when word kind of got around with our group of friends that we were starting a band together, like all of us, like there was kind of a little bit of a buzz about it, you know, for this area, you know?
Yeah.
To dial it on a little closer to what you were saying, the first time I ever met Ryan was my buddy Andy. He's like, dude, let's go to my buddy's house and hang out. Okay, sure. So we park like his car and we get out, and he's like, okay, just stay behind me and try to keep up. I'm like, okay. So he takes off running, and I'm chasing him, and he's like twice as fast as I am. And he's jumping over fences and going through bushes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're cutting through backyards. And I'm like, what are we doing? This is crazy. And we come out to this backyard, and there's a basement, a walkout basement, and he's like, all right, we're here. Be cool. I'm like, yeah, okay, dude. Yeah, like... And so we walk in, and Ryan was there at this kid's house, and a bunch of people were there, and they were playing some music. Ryan was singing and playing guitar, and this other guy was playing drums and had it set up completely wrong, like opposite of how it actually should be set up. And then this other kid with like spiky gelled hair out to here was playing guitar too, I think. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, cool, these guys play music. And this was right around the time I met Jake, and we started Spectrum, or we're thinking about it. And so then I'm like, oh, these guys play music too. They're in a band. This is cool. I got to help that drummer out. I got to set up his drums right.
Set these up.
And at that time, I actually started out as a drummer before I started playing guitar. So I'm like, dude, can I sit in on a song with you guys? And
you were going out with Gina. That's why you were there.
Yeah, probably. Because Leroy is the reason I was there. But yeah. Anyway, so I played drums with them. I get to know Ryan. And then, so that's actually how we met. And then it's blah, 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 blah. Fast forward.
Yeah, gotcha. Sweet deal. All right, cool.
I think the thing is, so why we're even doing this and having this conversation is because our band, in the couple years that we were together, we somehow managed to find a producer, like a kind of legit producer. I mean, Mike had worked with a lot of big bands.
Is it the Verve or the Verve Pipe? I can never remember. The Verve.
I don't know.
Anyway.
One of the two, but
he won an award for it. He won an award for recording him, for producing that band.
I mean, he literally had, I don't know.
He was like an assistant.
It's whichever one doesn't sing the symphony song that they got sued for.
The one not as popular is what you're thinking.
Yes, exactly. It's I think it's the Verve.
But what happened in that year, those couple of years, is we got to go record a full-length record, which back then it wasn't Logic, it wasn't Pro Tools. Like, guys didn't have studios in their basement. You had to go somewhere if you wanted to record a record. So we were one of the first bands out of our central Wisconsin area to go record a record somewhere, and somewhere that we had found on our own and wasn't really connected through anybody locally. So there was another milestone. And then we were the first band around here to tour, you know, and we went out to Denver and came back. And when we came back, I just remember, like, everything had changed, you know. There was like this buzz in the air about, like, oh, these guys are actually serious. They're actually working with their producer. They actually drove out to Denver and came back. And I mean, we had a little article in the newspaper, and I saved all this crap, you know?
Yeah.
And what happened is, when we had come back, I swear to God, there was probably 4 more bands here in town than when we left.
Oh, yeah.
All these bands started popping off, and like, all of a sudden, you know, this guy's in a band, this guy's got a band, and we
inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, we started playing shows, you know, and in the wake of, you know, us eventually disbanding, all these other bands came up. And coming up in January, we get a chance to go play again, the first time in, you know, almost 15 years, really, where we're seriously doing a Pocketbook Revolution set, and we're gonna go play for the people of our hometown who grew us, and for the future of what happened after us. A lot of the bands that are playing, like, have guys who came up, after us, and not that I want to take any credit for establishing anything, but it just feels cool, and it's a cool opportunity.
This is the first time we got a chance to sit down in 15 years, all four of us, these last couple rehearsals, and remember these things. So anybody listening, appreciate it. I know it's a little deviated from Ryan and Dave Save the World norm, but I don't know. It's a part of our life, and this podcast is now a part of our life, and we share our stories, and it wouldn't be Ryan and Dave Save the World without introducing you guys and explaining all the stories, because we reference it a lot on these shows, and so yeah, that's really cool. I'm so excited to play this show and get back together with you guys. And
no doubt.
And I think it's kind of neat because we're all in a different, we're chilled out a little more now. And
we all have kids.
We all have kids.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Oof.
That's crazy.
I've got the most.
Daycare.
You've got the most. I was the last one, and I'm the oldest.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. Thank you. Congratulations.
So really, I mean, okay, so then, to properly bring it home, I guess, I mean, the show is going to be in Merrill at Lesson Gym's, a venue it's a bowling alley, okay, but we did our CD release party there. We did countless shows there, over the years, so it's going to feel cool. We did our CD
release show and sold 62 CDs.
Not bad, and that's probably
impressive.
62 out of all 70 that we sold.
Out of all 70, that's right. Out of how many copies did we make? Oh, yeah, that's right, 1,000.
Here's what we're going to do, too, is we're going to each go to the show with 10 CDs in our pocket. You get 10, you get 10, you get 10, you get 10. You get to keep the profits. If you can make $100 that night, so there'd be a little competition amongst us.
We're selling CDs for $10.
Yeah. No, 10 CD. Yeah, $10. Who's got the strongest?
Can I have one? No, you get 10. 10 for 10. That's it. That's the only deal we have.
Who's got the strongest hustle?
Well, Dave.
Right.
Let's see if Dave still got it.
I don't know, keep man. You keep that money and bring it home. But January 12th is a show, Merrill, Wisconsin, Lesson Gyms. All Out Mutiny's on the bill. Who those dudes? They've done a lot of touring, and they've done multiple records, and it's totally legit. I mean, they're a good show. I mean, you should be there. The shit that bands have accomplished after us is so impressive. But anyways, All Out Mutiny.
It's my boys right there.
Who else is on that? Who else is on the show? 20 Watt Tombstone with Tom Jordan.
You got it.
And Mitch.
Yeah.
Who else is on the show? Coyote Radio, which is Ben Lee's project where he writes and performs songs. I think he's got another guy with him. And Folklore Shroud is the last band, which was kind of deviated from the Secret Sound band.
Okay.
So it was their singer. So he's got a new project. So there's new stuff, there's really old stuff, and then there's everything in between. So it'll be a fun night, and the bar's open. So
sweet deal. And bowling, we're gonna have bowling, and
you can bowl if you want to bowl.
Yeah.
All right, man.
That's always open.
Yeah.
You guys have anything to add at the end here? Or?
I don't know.
I'm just really glad to be playing together again. I mean, this has been a blast.
For sure.
I think it was really important and just a special time for all of us. And I'm glad to be playing the songs again. And it's been a long time, but I'm still proud of the songs. And I think we wrote some good stuff, and it's fun to play it again.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be doing it.
Agreed.
For sure.
Agreed.
It's not like, your glory days as a football player in high school. You can't just get the football team together and get another football team and play. It's like, but you can get a couple guys together and go play a show.
Yeah.
Seriously, man. Seriously.
For sure.
Who knows? Maybe we'll make a second album after this.
Maybe we'll get signed, dude. Maybe there'll be like but that's how we used to think. Every show we went to, dude, maybe there'll be somebody from a record label there and we'll get signed.
Yeah. Or more likely, the band that you're playing for puts your stuff out on the sidewalk in the middle of Oshkosh.
While it's snowing.
That's a whole nother story. But
do a mini series on all the cool shit.
Oh, we could have so many stories.
Cool? Is that what we're calling it?
All right. Cool.
Anyway.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, Landy, for hosting at your Push Studios. Push Studios or just
Push Sound Studios.
Push Sound Studios. You need something recorded, get a hold of them.
Yeah,
you got a plug?
What's that?
Email?
Do I have a... Yeah.
Facebook?
dioctopus@gmail.com. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm Orlando
Do
DiValentine.
voiceovers or bands or
Yeah,
what do you do?
voiceovers. Please do not... This is not a testament to my recording abilities.
Yeah, this is kind of last minute. Seriously, last minute.
So-
but cool. All right, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Adios,
you.
amigos.
Peace out.
Peace out. Go save the world.
Because the night is a rock and the day is a stone, and nothing will be with you once you finally have gotten through. Sometimes there's love, sometimes there's not. Sometimes she's cold, sometimes she's hot. You may be rich, you may be mad, you may be dreaming of something sad. Because the night is a rock and the day is a stone, and nothing will be with you once you finally have gotten through. Because tonight